Hello and happy Monday. I cannot believe that it is March, that we've already been doing these calls for 4 months. Is that true? November, December, January, February?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we started in November. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So March, or month five, let's go.
There you go, Taylor, getting this rolling. I love it.
1% better every day.
That's right. Leading by example, Taylor. Nice work.
Um, yeah, so today our topic is 1% better every day. And our catchphrase is what feels like a weakness is often your invitation to grow. Um, so I'm sure a lot of you have heard this phrase 1% better every single day. I think a lot of coaches use it, and it can mean something different to everybody. So I have something that it means to me. Shalais, I wanted to ask what it means to you.
What 1% means to me. Um, like me personally or me general as a coach?
Let's start with you personally, because I think that's a unique perspective. And I think that your perspective as a coach will probably be more in line with what we're going to discuss today.
Okay. It's funny because my 1% better has obviously evolved and changed from where it was as a competitor versus where I am now as just what I would call a lifestyle client to my coach, because my 1% better was making sure I was hitting everything to the T all the time, like no room for error, like just making it happen no matter what. Like there wasn't a whole lot of balance, I would say, because I had these huge aspirations, right? And it was 1% better as it like, I mean, with everything, with my nutrition, all the things, like how can I make myself more efficient with what I was doing in just daily life, daily tasks, daily habits to make my next day easier and easier. So as a competitor, I think my 1% better, uh, I don't want to call it was almost obsessive, but definitely like there, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of room for error for me personally at that point. Um, and that meant everything too, even my recovery. And there was sometimes
Mhm.
I even put my recovery to the side because I felt like I couldn't miss a workout. I couldn't miss that whatever it was. Like I had to hit my cardio, I had to hit this. And like looking back on that, like the recovery aspects, since we've talked about recovery and that kind of stuff and how important that is, my recovery aspect kind of that went to the wayside a little bit because I was trying to be so much better at all the other things. Um, and that ended up taking a toll on me physically and mentally as a competitor. But now, as I transitioned from a competitor to a coach, my 1% better is still, I mean, obviously still leading by example. Like it's still making sure that my meals are prepped, planned. Like I still have these daily habits that have carried over from bodybuilding that are still habits and expectations for me. Like we've mentioned before, the non-negotiables that are still there, and I still have those set in place. But I would say I guess it would giving myself a little bit more grace in how I handle, like the rest days and stuff. Because again, what we've talked about in the past, sometimes that's the hardest piece. And the recovery is the hardest piece. Like I don't struggle with the discipline. Sometimes I struggle with the rest and backing off of that. So 1% better to me every day is just like compounding on what you're already doing, your daily habits. How can you be more efficient? How can you make your life easier? And little things, just like, okay, so yesterday I missed the mark on this. Like I didn't get my full workout on because of whatever. Okay, so what can I do to help next or tomorrow to make it more efficient, to make my life more efficient? How can I plan a little bit better for that that 1% better. And it's little things like compounding things over time. They're not huge things. It's like, okay, can I pour my cereal in the bowl the night before? So it's one less step that I have to do in the morning. I'm right now. It's little tiny things that just help with the next day. So yeah, they're just the little daily habits and just making sure I'm making things more efficient. That's
Mhm.
kind of, I'll probably add on to this after I hear what you say too, but yeah,
Yeah.
just remembering it's just the little things all add up over time.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you were a little hesitant to say that you're bodybuilding 1% better every single day, that was a little bit obsessive. Um, I think it's just as important to know that that's what's required to be at the level that you were at. Like to be competitive in the way that you were, that was required of you. And so the sacrifices that you made in order to be good in the sport, you then now looking back, you can say, well, yeah, that was a little bit damaging, like mentally, physically. But it's what kind of that's what gave you the edge over maybe some other competitors who weren't doing that. They weren't making the same sacrifices. So that's important. Like, if you do want to be competitive, that's the kind of mindset you have to have. And you might need to feel like you are being a little bit obsessive because it's it's your ultimate goal. I mean, other than competing, did you have any other goals at that point? Or that was your one thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was my drive. That was my thing. And that's the thing. Like in order to be elite, you have to have elite routines and schedules and that kind of I
Hmm.
mean, anybody you talk to, any athlete, they're all elite for a reason. And it is, they put in the time, they have those habits. And that's why I was hesitant saying the word obsessive because it's not, I hate that it puts a negative connotation to it. Um, because it is kind of required. So I wouldn't maybe not say obsessive, but like that ultimate discipline. Like you have to have that drive and that grit to be that person, to be that elite in whatever you're doing. Um,
Hmm.
so that's why like I was hesitant on that just because I mean you're right. It is required in order to be that. Like we've talked about, in order to be a pro, you have to act like a pro in a lot of different ways: mindset, routines, schedules, all the things. So yeah, I just
Yeah.
obsessive. I don't want to call it that. Like I have a hard time because like I said, it just puts a negative connotation on it.
Hmm. And it's not obsessive. It is just like you're not giving yourself any other option other than to succeed, right? Like
Yeah.
the only option is to get it done. It's not that you are like constantly saying like, oh, well, I have to do this, I have to do this, and you're obsessing over completing it. It's like, no, that's the only option. Do it, and if you don't, you're not where you need to be. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really a choice. Almost like obsession implies that like you can't get out of it. It's like, no, I'm choosing to say this is what I am doing. Only this.
Yeah, and at that level, like that, you don't want any regrets either. You don't want to say like, well, shit, had I done that, I maybe would have done this, or I may have done better. Like I wanted to know that I was following everything as I was told to do, and that I couldn't blame myself for the lack of effort or the lack of whatever it was. Whenever I ultimately stepped on stage, or was like I didn't want. Sorry for the dogs, but yeah, I didn't want to live there with the regret that like, oh shit, that was my fault. I did that. I didn't want to have any regrets. So it was like, I'm going to do this exactly like I'm told. And if it doesn't go my way, then I have someone else to blame and not myself because I did what I was told.
Yeah. And like competitors, if you I mean, take it from people who have like messed up at some point. If you do something that is off of your plan, you do have those what ifs. You're like, what if I didn't do that thing? What if I didn't fall off? What if this didn't happen? Like not that those are regrets necessarily, but it's an important lesson. So if you haven't had that lesson happen to you, you don't have to learn the hard way. You can just communicate with your coach and follow the plan. But yeah, don't think that you can talk yourself into doing something off plan and then not have that thought later of like, what if I had just done what my coach said to do? So yeah. The other thing that I really like that you said, Shalise, so transitioning over to you being a coach now and a lifestyle client to your coach and coaching other people. Um, you were talking about how being 1% better every single day means making your life easier and more efficient. It doesn't mean adding more stuff in there and making it chaotic and hectic and putting too much on your plate. It means these are the things you have to do. How do we make those things as easy as possible to complete? What can we do to improve efficiency? I think that's like a really, really good point.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, like the habit stacking and just things that you can do to like you said, and I said, make things efficient. Because it shouldn't add more stress to your life. Whatever you're doing, it shouldn't add more. It really should be like, oh, okay, this is planned, this is done, I'm good. And I did what I could in this moment to get me to where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go into like my
Yeah,
version of
yeah,
1% better, which
let's hear yours.
they're gonna be pretty much the same thing, but we'll go through a couple of examples that I think make it pretty clear what it means. So to me, 1% better every day is just doing something every day to be like better than yesterday, right? That's just the same sentence worded differently. But I don't literally mean to be better at all of the things that you're doing because it's just not possible long term. Like one example is tracking your macros. So if you hit your macros exactly today, then tomorrow you can't really be like better at tracking your macros. You're just going to do that same thing again tomorrow. So what I don't want people to think is that being 1% better every single day means taking your best, most consistent day and then expecting yourself to basically be a robot and do that day with, like 20 different requirements, no matter what, without fail. So we kind of talked about how that may have been a little bit of what was required to be one of the best bodybuilders in the world. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about like how you can be 1% better in any area of your life where you're not trying to be like the best ever, right? um, you can always throw yourself into one thing and dedicate yourself to that thing, but we're talking about balance today. So, um, if you did try to essentially become a robot, perform a perfect routine every single day, it probably won't work for very long. And when it doesn't work, you might feel disappointed, and you might feel like you're not doing enough. And that is a pretty dangerous failure loop that you really want to try to avoid. You don't want to get stuck in that loop of feeling like no matter how much effort you put in, it's not enough to get to where you want to go. So in practice, getting 1% better every day to me means that you're committing to the journey of becoming better every single day. So you're committing to prioritizing specific tasks that you know are going to continue either building or maintaining the skills and habits that are required of you in order to reach your goal. So it's like, I think this is where people can get a bit sidetracked with their goals. It can be really easy to forget that just continuing to go through that process and being on that journey with all of the ebbs and flows of life, that's what actually makes us better. Not just saying, I need to check off these, 10 things every single day. Are there non negotiables that you should check off? 100%. But like thinking about your days um, in a way where it's focused on either maintaining the skills you already have or building the ones you need to build, like just doing those things and maybe not even all of them every single day over time will get you to where you want to go. So, this kind of ties in with one of the things that we've talked about before, an all or nothing mindset. So if you were to lock in and nail these like daily requirements that you have for a week, will you see any lasting progress from that effort? It's like, probably not. If you did it for 6 weeks, then you'll definitely notice some changes. But if that routine that you're doing for 6 weeks isn't sustainable, you're probably going to burn out before you can reach your goals. And then where do you go from there, right? You know that this routine that you made progress in is not sustainable, and you try to go back to that routine, but in your mind you already know, like, well, I couldn't do this last time, like what's any different? That's the failure loop I'm talking about. And I hate to see people get stuck in that loop, and it's hard to break you out too.
Sorry, I was trying to see if I wanted to, where I want to mention something, but I don't know where would be a good spot for that. Okay, just go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. Sounds good. Um, so, um, with like an all or nothing mindset, getting out of, I should say, actually, getting out of an all or nothing mindset is really important for reaching your goals, just because change takes time, building skills takes time. And when you have that checklist style approach to your long term goals, that's always going to end up highlighting in your brain what you're not able to complete. And it's going to make you feel like you're chasing this impossible standard. But if you switch, instead of this like all or nothing where you're going to be on a super strict plan or you just don't know what to do, you change it to this like 1% better everyday approach, that flips the script and it highlights what you do complete. So if you every single day you just continue to strive for your best on each day, and not necessarily like the best day possible, like the best day in probably all of our brains, I think we're all kind of wired this way, especially if you're listening to this call because you're probably on the team, is that like, oh, my best day ever, like I get a solid workout, I have all my meal preps done, I'd like drink all my water, I'd do something for self-care. Like we have all these things that we check off, but if you actually write all those down, it'd probably take your entire day. And everybody, all of us, have so many other things to do every day besides just pour into ourselves and our health and fitness, which it would be amazing if we could just do that and then no one would have to have jobs. But we do. We do.
It,
And even like for people like Shalise and I, where it kind of is our job to do that, it's like you still don't get to pour all of your time into. We fall on the back burner a lot of the time.
yep.
Yeah.
It's funny when I get brand new clients jump on board and I give them their plans. And usually, like, I start with nutrition and the training first, right? Always. Like, those are your biggest bang for your buck changes that we're going to make. And the question that's always shot back to me is, well, what about cardio? What about cardio? And so my thing is always, we have our daily habits. So it's let's look at your nutrition, let's look at your training, let's add in those. All of that other stuff we'll add later. And so I always tell my clients, I'm like, one thing at a time. Let's nail these things first. Let's feel comfortable with where we're at with this routine, with your nutrition. Let's nail your workouts first. Let's get all that in a really good spot where it feels like a routine. You have a schedule down, you know what you can do. And then we'll look at adding some other things later. Like, sure, if you're already doing something and it fits in your schedule, cool, that's great. Just let me know. But if I'm not going to throw everything at you, because like you talked about earlier, it's you're going to go into the burnout. Like, you're going to go, yes, I'm all in. I'm going to do all of this stuff. You're going to be sore. You're going to be tired. You're going to like be overwhelmed, and you're going to be like, I can't. This is not sustainable. So baby steps into everything, and that's how we as coaches like make you 1% better along the way. Is like, okay, cool, this week you nailed all your nutrition and you didn't get your workouts in. That's fine. I know you're still getting a routine down. Okay, so this week you got all this figured out. Next week, what does that look like for you? So maybe we can add 3 days of workouts instead of last week you're only able to get 2. Cool, you got one more day. That's progress. That's 1% better than you were last week. So the little baby steps along the way, those are great like successes to highlight. And I try to do that, especially with new clients, but then also my old clients too, because they're so like ingrained in, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Like, oh shit, I forgot. I didn't get whatever, this many steps. I'm like, okay, but last week you got this many steps. And this week you got 100 more than you did last week on average. That's progress. Like remembering to highlight all of those little things that are happening and are successful. And that's our job as coaches too, is to kind of look at the data and remind them that it's not about perfection. It's about doing what you can. And again, like our whole conversation is about right now, being 1% better than you were. And that is little things like 100 steps more than last week, or, you nailed 4 of the 5, or no, let's better that 6 of the 7 days on macros pretty damn well, within the range that we're looking for. Little things like that, those all add up over time. And we're not expecting perfectionism at all, ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think once you have spent time building up your routine, so you have practice with nailing your nutrition, sleep, training, recovery, like all the things that we talk about, you can balance them in a way that like if one falls and the other one comes up, you can like even it out. And just having that awareness of your effort levels in different areas of your life, and then like what that means for, like if one area your effort level dropped and it rose in another one, you can either leave it that way and be like, okay, well, I know I'm going to be focusing more on this thing right now, or you can even it out so that you continue making progress kind of everywhere. Like you can control that, because like Shalay said, there's no way that every single day of your life is going to be able to meet this expectation that I think a lot of us set for ourselves. So like if yesterday you didn't get enough sleep, then today you can make an effort to go to bed earlier. That's 1% better. If your last leg day was like not as intense as it could have been because you have some life distractions going on, then on your next workout, focus and challenge yourself. Just picking up the slack in areas where there might be room for improvement. So those areas where you do feel like you have room for improvement, those are like the weaknesses that I'm talking about in the catchphrase for this call. So what feels like a weakness, that is your invitation to grow. So if you notice that you've gotten off track with one of your goals, you might find yourself feeling like frustrated because you know you can do better because you have in the past, right? Like there were days where you did this thing really, really well. Like 3 weeks ago, you had a perfect week and you felt great and you saw progress. And then you ask yourself, like, well, why can't I just keep doing that? And like, why can't I stay motivated or disciplined enough to keep going? Like, what's wrong with me? Essentially, is where this starts to spiral. And it might be because you've only given yourself 2 options. Like, do the task and succeed, or don't do the task and fail. But if there's a third option of 1% better every day, then instead of getting frustrated and feeling bad about yourself and your effort and your progress, you can just be curious and support yourself. So, like the questions that Shalise brought up at the beginning of the call, how do I make this easier? How do I make this more efficient? Um, so let's see. I think for certain people who have always had an all or nothing mindset, it can be difficult to transition to something like a 1% better mindset, just because it can feel like you're, excuse my language, but you're like bitching out. Or you're like, I don't know, or you feel like you don't deserve that kind of grace. I don't know if that's something that you've ever felt, Shalise, because you've like really focused in, like you've put the blinders on and focused in. Did you have a hard time transitioning to giving yourself more flexibility?
It was so hard. It was so hard. And for years, gosh, I competed for 9 years, 8, 9 years, and like 4 or 5 shows a year during that time. And well, okay, 3 to 5, but transitioning out and, is like kind of going with the all or nothing mindset, it has to be 6 days a week. I have to wake up every morning and do this. I have to do, it's all this. Transitioning out and my coach telling me to only do 3 days of training a week and to quit doing cardio in the morning and just walk, to back off some of that stuff that was so ingrained in my life for so long. And, if I didn't hit my macros exactly, I was 40 grams short of carbs or whatever, it was just like, okay, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Nothing's gonna go wrong. But yeah, it was a really hard transition to give myself grace. And I find that even with a lot of my high achieving clients that I talk about a lot of the time too, is that they have a hard time like, well, I didn't do all of these workouts like I was supposed to do. And they're really hard on themselves for that. But and again, that's where us as coaches have to go. Is like, it's okay, it's fine, you're going to be fine. Like missing a one workout. And I actually just had this conversation with a client the other day. Sorry if that was loud. I don't know if you can hear that motorcycle, but like we talk about, like one day of like not eating well, like, or that one meal where you were off, like you had a free meal or a cheat meal or whatever, is not going to ruin all your progress. Just like one really good meal is not going to all of a sudden make you this super lean, fit person. Same with your workouts. One really shitty workout is not going to, make you this really lean, fit, physical person. Just like, wait, did I say that right? One really good workout.
One really good workout won't make you a lean person.
Where again, if you have a bad one, or if you had to miss a workout for whatever reason, is not going to set you back completely. Like those moments are okay. Your body is going to be fine. Your progress is going to be fine. It's the long-term consistency over time. And just finding that grace and knowing that it's okay, because it's the compounding habits over a long period of time. And it's hard. It's really hard for a lot of people to see that, especially if, they don't physically see it. And again, it's going back to that whole on what does it look like on paper? What does your progress look like on paper? Are you sleeping better? Are you feeling better? Are you pooping better? Are you progressing in your workouts? Like all of those other things, it's more than just the weight coming off or how you look physically. There's other things that are good pieces of data to show that the 1% is happening, and helping you progress.
Yeah.
I went off on a tangent again.
That's the whole point. Yeah. The way that you feel about like falling off of the plan, whatever that means, whether that is a meal out or a missed workout or a bad night of sleep or whatever it is your goal is that you're tracking, and you do have a day where your performance was not where you wanted it to be, your reaction to that is important. If you react and you say, well, like there's the screw it response, like screw it, I guess this week is just a loss. Or even worse, like letting it affect your next workout in a negative way. If anything, that's where I was talking about like being curious and like, how do I support myself? Like, how do I make this thing better next time? How do I have a better workout? How do I plan ahead further for my meals? Like just learning how to see it as that opportunity to grow and not as a failure, because it's not failure.
Yeah.
So I have a little exercise that you guys can do. I use this pretty regularly. I do like a nightly journal entry, and a lot of times at night, my journal entry will kind of be like this because, of course, at night, all those thoughts come flooding in of all the things that you want to do or you didn't get done. And you're like, okay, brain, we just really need to not do this right now. So I will write this exercise down in my journal, and it honestly helps because it it kind of ties a bow on some of the like unfinished business of the brain, I think. So there shouldn't be these like excuses for why you don't do something that you said you were going to do, but there are reasons. It doesn't just happen. There's a reason why you weren't able to complete something that you said you wanted to do. So, um, being curious about why a certain area of your life feels like it's something you need to improve on is the key to this exercise. So if you are able to figure out the reasons why it's hard to do the things you want to do, and then you take real action to make it easier, that is you supporting yourself on your journey. And then you're allowing yourself to be this like compassionate human who has limited time and energy and high standards for themselves. You can be both. It just requires you to have balance and, like I said, compassion. Give yourself grace. So, I'll invite you guys to be a little bit vulnerable when you're doing this exercise. So, no matter like who you are, it's safe to assume that there's something that you want to do, something you want to change, something you want to improve, something you want to accomplish. Think about those things and like it could be improving your body composition or making a certain amount of money or traveling somewhere, building a skill, anything. Write down the things that you want in life. And if it is health and fitness related, because that's what we do here, then you could say like, I want to I want to be able to deadlift how much we want to say. I want to be able to deadlift like let's say 315 because that's a good number. And that's a good goal. Or you say like I
One and a
want
half times my
to
weight,
what'd you say?
or one and a half times my weight, or something like that. Or
Yeah, one and a half times the weight. Yeah,
that.
those are good ones. Um, and then like I want to be able to say that I like hit my macros exactly for a full month. Like I want that to be something I check off. So that's like, probably a shorter term goal maybe than the deadlifting one. So it can be long term, short term, but write down all the things you want to do. And then below each of those things, write down if you think that there are any obstacles or requirements in order for you to have or do that thing. So identify like what could possibly block me from getting to this goal, or what do I feel is blocking me? Like if you feel like you don't have support from your partner, or if you feel like you that I don't know, like for the deadlifting one, like you have a fear of putting a certain amount of weight on the bar and you have to get over that. Like there's mental obstacles, there can be physical requirements. You're like, well, if I'm gonna be able to deadlift, like I need to come up with this program that's going to be able to get me there, or I need to hire a coach that's going to give me a program that I can follow. So it can be stuff that you have to deal with. It can be stuff that other people are involved with. Whatever those obstacles or requirements are, write those down. And then after that, write at least one action step that you can take today, like now, or some scheduled date in the near future to get yourself closer to that goal. So it doesn't matter if that action step is big or small, it is going to get you closer. And you can write one, you can write five, but as soon as all of those underneath your goal are checked off, you can redo the exercise and like keep coming back and revisiting to evaluate your effort and your progress and see how you can keep moving closer. Because sometimes when you do have multiple goals, you just start to kind of like fall off track with some of them and your focus goes to other places. Um, so this is a really good way to keep track of all the different things that you have going on. Like if there's like if you want to become a nurse, for example, like there's certain classes you have to take, like write those down, have it in like in a checkoff form where you can say like these are my action steps. And if you ever start questioning if you are getting 1% better every day, you can look at your list and be like, well, I'm currently doing this action step that's going to get me closer to my goal. So by definition, I am moving closer to my goal every single day.
This is something I actually have built into my check-ins, where there is a behavior goal every week that I ask my clients to have. So what is an action step you're going to take to get to the goal that you want? And I always tell them, like, there's a little daily habit checklist of what are you hitting, what are you not hitting, red, green, blue, all the things. And, refer back to that. Like, what are you missing in your action steps that's not going to get you to your goal, not progress you to that 1%. So always look back at that. So I always have them, and I tell them, just pick one behavior goal that you're going to work on this week that's going to get you closer to what your ultimate goal is, working with me, working whatever your goal is. And it's kind of funny sometimes, because like a lot of my clients are like, I don't even remember what I wrote. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't a goal. Like, you weren't working on that goal. You just wrote something down, and that's fine too. Sometimes we get busy, but yeah, it's important to identify the action steps, I think, in order for you to, okay, what is the one thing I'm going to focus on this week that really will get me to whatever my goal is? Like, I'm not getting my steps. What can I do? What behavior can I change to get my steps this week? What behavior can I change to make sure my food is prepped? Like, make sure I'm cooking everything on a Sunday night and putting some in the freezer, some in my fridge, that kind of stuff. Like, what little steps can you help to get to that ultimate goal that is your weakness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a certain like, what do I want to call? Maybe shame that I think some people feel when they're learning to look at their life like this. Like, it takes a certain level of um awareness and honesty with yourself to be able to look at your life like, oh, I have control over all of these things. Like, you're taking ownership of all of these tasks and when they don't get complete. But just because a task doesn't get completed, even like when it's yours to own, that doesn't mean that, like we're saying, that you're failing or that you can't do this or that this is not meant for you. It's just, that's where this grace comes in and that compassion comes in, of being like, I am learning to do something new. Like, this path is still for me, even if I am struggling. Like, all of these things that, like affirmations that you can tell yourself just to remind yourself that you are doing what you need to be doing. And if you're not doing what you need to be doing, like if you know that your coach said, hey, you have to get to the gym at least 3 times a week, preferably 4, and you're just not doing it, yeah, that is something you have to take ownership of and be like, all right, well, I need to be better. But if after the moment where you say, I need to be better, you don't do anything to be better, that's what makes you feel bad. It's not the messing up, it's what happens after messing up that can control whether you feel good about your effort or bad. That's all I have to say about that.
Sorry, I'm looking at my notes again just to make sure I hit on everything I wanted to say too. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I don't know. I could keep talking about this forever, but I think I'll just start repeating myself.
Ultimately, I think that one thing I think both Taylor and I would probably agree on is that, yes, there are goals. Yes, we have to give ourselves great grace. And ultimately, this is about sustainability in your life and what's going on with your life currently, whether like personally, professionally, family wise, everything is, we have goals and we want to meet those goals for sure. But remember that there's also, it has to be sustainable for you. And the perfectionism, it's just not going to happen. You can't pour into every single bucket 100% every single day. You will burn out. So the big thing is just remember, be sustainable, give yourself, or make it sustainable, give yourself some grace. And like how we started this call is, do things in your life to help make things more efficient for you in the future, the future being, an hour from now, sleep time, your sleep routine tomorrow morning, like what little habits can you do? And if it doesn't happen because something else got in the way, because family was scheduled or something happened, okay, that's okay. There's other priorities. Don't don't get down on yourself when those moments can't happen all the time. Like, give yourself some grace. There has to be some balance, but also do what you can to, yes, to to where am I going with this, Taylor?
Um,
Make sure
when
more.
you do have like a season where things are not as busy, everything that you've been practicing, that's where you can then shine. Like those moments where
Yeah.
you feel like, oh, well, I did all this prep, but it still didn't work out. Well, someday you are going to do that prep and life is going to cooperate in a way that it does allow you to excel. And you will have this season where you'll see a lot of progress because of that. But if you don't practice all of the things we're talking about, making things easier, more efficient, building all of your skills, maintaining your skills, then when you do have that easy season, you won't be successful. You'll still be learning. I don't know if that's exactly what you're going to say, but
No,
it's a segue.
yeah, no. And again, the goal is not perfectionism. It is not, that isn't it. That is, how can you be consistent? How can you be 1% better? That's all we're asking. 1% better. It's not 100% better in everything, every aspect of your life. It's 1%. What can you do to make yourself better? And it's not about winning every single day. It's about maintaining and staying in the game for the rest of your life, and having those lifestyle habits for the rest of your life.
Staying in the game. Yeah.
Going back to
Like
that
that.
whole maintenance thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Well, we are right at 5:30, so
Yes.
we can leave it on that. I think that's a really good message. Staying in the game. Um, next week, what do we have? Oh, wait. I think I know what it is.
I know. So share with me.
Next week is one table, two goals,
That's
feeding
right.
your family while fueling your goals. So this one will be fun. We'll talk a little bit about like tips and tricks and meals and things to make sure that you are hitting your macros and your kids are eating the food. And so is your husband. And I'm speaking to women as the ones that are mostly our clients. So shout out to any husbands that cook the food because you can come to this call too. I've
There
got a
are a
couple
lot of
of
them.
those.
There are a lot.
Uh-huh.
I know that. A lot of
Yeah.
wives are like constantly saying, I am so thankful he's there to grill up my chicken and or whatever. So yes, there are a lot.
Yeah. The husbands don't know it. They're like technically our clients too. So anyway, yep, that'll be our call next week. So we will talk to you guys then. Go be 1% better every day this week.
Good job, Taylor.
Talk to you guys soon.